Hey guys, another arcader here, coming to you with a very important message. I've got my NES Edition World Championships hat and my Pac-Man graffiti on today. Anyways, I got a really important video about video game history today. It's about the dark ages of video gaming Did you guys hear that? I don't know what's going on, but you know.
It's time to join another arcader once again.
I don't know what to say, man.
Bringing you more action, history, mystery, and mayhem that you can shake your joints with.
Did we hire a voice actor to do a voiceover? I mean...
So ride a comfy chair, turn the volume up.
Synth? Really? Synth, really? Did we get a budget increase?
Don't just be another arcader. Aim for that top spot and go for the world record.
Okay, well, it seems to be done. So, just gonna get back to business. Okay, well, today's topic is the dark ages of video gaming and the retro renaissance. So,
We're exploring the retro renaissance.
I thought that silliness was done with for now. Well, I guess not, but anyways, right now the retro renaissance is all around us. The rise of things from the past coming back again. Not just nostalgia, but a cultural and artistic technological rebirth. Rediscovery of classical art, architecture, and yes, video games. Today, video games are considered to be a protected art form, but they weren't always that way. Basically, it's not just photos and video filters anymore. It's entire cameras, like my CS8, that are built to not only resemble the Super 8 camera and give you filters and that kind of stuff, but to look and feel like the past. The other day, I saw a musician using a telephone as a microphone on my feeds, singing into it and pressing against his instrument. I mean, he's just like talking on a phone, but he's singing into the phone. There are even telephones now with Bluetooth connections. You can pick up the receiver and answer your modern smartphone with these types of telephones. So I could keep my smartphone in the corner and I could pick up the receiver, just like the olden days. Old forms reborn with a modern science, and yes, and using the definition of Renaissance, this absolutely applies to gaming history too. Before the Dark Ages, there were arcades. Arcades set the bar really high. They had bright colors and superior graphics, fast gameplay, constant improvement, and the arcades were social. Being a gamer meant going out, going to the malls. If you were an adult, you could go to a bar. You had movie theaters that had arcades. You had hotels that had arcades. You were surrounded by people in quarters. And then home gaming came next. The first generation of gaming ran from 1972 to 1983. The second generation spanned roughly 1976 to 1992. And that overlap mattered, because in 1983, we didn't have just one generation of consoles, we had two. All competing to bring the arcade experience to the home. Generation 2 alone had at least 5 major consoles. A little bit more. I believe there was the Odyssey 2 that I don't include on this list of the 5 major. Some weren't even original hardware. They were rebrands, like the Sears Video Arcade was.
Hey, what the heck is a Sears Video Arcade?
I guess I'm going to go with that, because that's kind of a good question. The Sears Video Arcade was a rebranded Atari 2600. Sears and Atari had a very strong relationship, and Sears was a trusted name, trusted household name. Back then, gotta move my guy. Back then, consoles were sold like appliances. They were like refrigerators, washers, televisions. You have to remember that this was the beginning. You know, video games had just started. They don't have the kind of attention that they had today. Before this, bringing the arcade games home felt impossible. You know, I think even today, it's a lot of money to drop on an arcade cabinet, even a newly manufactured one. And so here's where things started to crack in 1983. Imagine this. You had Centipede on Atari. You had Centipede on the Sears Video Arcade. You had Centipede on Intellivision. You had Centipede on the Sears Super Video Arcade. And you had... Oopsie. You had Centipede on ColecoVision. 5 different consoles, and because some of them were rebranded consoles, they had 3 different looks. 3 different levels of quality, and then there was the arcade version, which looked better, played better, and felt better every single time that you put a quarter into it. I'm going to play a little bit of a game here for a little bit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Using the Super Nintendo controller for the Nintendo Switch, so I'm going to give that one a try again. Doesn't really have that look and feel that it's supposed to have, huh? Well, it won't let me use the A and B buttons, but, you know, I'm playing an NES game on a Super Nintendo controller, so that's probably why. Woohoo! Here we go. Now, I always just find it easier to just get these guys out of the way. There's an extra life up here. My cousins from Ohio taught me this move. I actually grew up on the Nintendo, and this is sort of the way it looked on our old CRT TVs. Yeah, get that pow. Here we go. Up and oh, I missed that one. Darn it. Alrighty, to continue on. Between 1983 and 1985, video game sales slowed, not just because the people hated games, but because they didn't trust them anymore. The home videos, the home versions anymore. Customers complained about inferior graphics, limited colors, and inconsistent quality. Like I said, 5 major video game systems. Basically, two of them were rebranded different consoles. The Sears Super Video Arcade was a rebranded Intellivision. Meanwhile, companies kept producing games at full speeds. Stores became overstocked. Oversaturation met with disappointment. This period became, at least in America, as the Dark Ages of Video Gaming. Today, when games launch across a platform, the experience is usually the same. there's differences in resolution, differences in load time, differences in graphical quality, at least a little bit. But back then, each version was very simple. This was before the internet. This was before cheat codes. This was before gaming magazines could show off what the games looked like. So we had no Game Shark. We had no Game Genie for Nintendo. All we had was word of mouth and people's opinions. Mom and Dad didn't know the games and quite often would ask the salesperson what their opinion was. But the problem is that the salesperson was there to sell, so he'd probably often sell you the flavor of the month. Like maybe you got E.T. For Christmas in 1982. Now, I'm just going to pause there for a little bit, because E.T., to be fair, E.T., in my opinion, was way too complicated for a child's game. But that's just my opinion on it. I know that there's a lot of people out there that got different opinions, and that's fine. You didn't know what you were getting. Basically, all you had was the box and the description. Maybe you were lucky and you waited a while and you had some friends down the street that played it, or you knew somebody that played it. You had maybe your pen pal. You know, this was a thing back then. You'd write to people in foreign countries or in another state or something like that. You'd have a pen pal and you'd get correspondence. You'd get letters in the mail, handwritten from people. So maybe your pen pal that you wrote about it played it. But meanwhile, the American consumers didn't know it. But in 1983, two companies in Japan were preparing the way out. Nintendo and Sega. 1986, the third generation had arrived in America. The NES was already in American homes. It was already gaining popularity very quick. But it wasn't marketed as a video game console. It was marketed as an entertainment system. It was marketed as more of a toy because it came with Rob the Robot. And once people realized what they had, they trusted games again. Nintendo emphasized quality and control. I really wish I had my little Nintendo thing here because of the fact that, and I know I have my NES thing here, but you know, basically on the box they had something that said Nintendo Seal of Quality on it. It was on every single little cartridge because the people had to pay for the little chip and that kind of stuff. Sega followed up with the Master System in 1986. There were fewer consoles, stronger identities, and there were better games. And just like that, the Dark Ages ended. Today, we don't just play old games, we preserve them, we study them, we celebrate them. The past isn't obsolete anymore, it's valuable. And that is, in essence, the retro renaissance. So,